In this live coding session, we're going to continue in Swift in a code kata called the expense report and try to put a bow on the whole thing. Maybe move some responsibilities around. Let's explore some refactoring. Hello, welcome to the quality coding stream. Hello, Mudshark, as always. And we'll see if anyone else joins eventually. My name is John Reed. I am a senior consultant at Industrial Logic, where we do mostly coaching for companies, some training, some coding even. And I've been there for 2 years. Unbelievable. I'm still sort of pinching myself as it is really a you join any job and you're like, this is my dream job. But I actually was following a number of people at Industrial Logic and the company itself for many years. They're some of my coding heroes. And now I've met new ones who I didn't know. Fantastic. Let's see. Awfully quiet still. We'll see, Mudshark. Let's see if anyone else joins. In the meantime, I'll just sort of continue with the general announcements, I guess. So, Industrial Logic, if you go to our website, which is getting spiffed up, and go to services and technical training and scroll a bit. And I'm currently in the middle of teaching industrial iOS development. We're debating about whether to call it modern iOS development. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. I'm learning so much about modern Swift and how to work with things like async and background tasks. And we're going to get into, so far it's been UIKit, but we're going to get into Swift UI. I'm pretty excited about that. All right, looks like we've got someone else joined. Hello, welcome. We are in the expense report kata, where we are cleaning stuff up. Let me just give the tests a run. Tests, I say, there's one test it looks like, but it does a lot. And the goal is to add lunch. So here, if I just show the test, this is essentially the test right here. It feeds in a bunch of different expenses and marks certain ones as over the limit. And our goal is to add lunch. And I think we're actually at a point where we can drop it in. And maybe we should do that before continuing with further cleanup, because we've reached the main goal to make it so that it is, to make the change easy, almost a one-liner, not quite. It's just a change in a couple of places. Yeah, let's give it a go. So what I'd like to do is create, before I do, let's clean this up. These annoy me. I think we can get rid of these now, because that was sort of a temporary thing to say these cases have names, but now that's really none of our business. These two types come in and as from the outside world. And yeah, you could make an extension on them, I suppose, but it's none of their business. Okay. The printing part is none of their business. So this is make enum non-string. All right. So let's add lunch. How do we do this? Let's see. Let's go to the tests. And do we want to, I think I just want to add lunch straight into here rather than creating a new test, because this test is exercising a bunch of stuff and it just seems like it'll be easy to say, let's add lunch. Lunch, where the limit was 2,000 pennies. And if you're over that, you're over the limit. Yeah. So let's create this enum case. Like that. I'm going to just move it up. And at this point, I think it'll just die. And I'm hesitant to use TCR right now. So let me turn that off. I don't want it to revert this. But let's see what it does. Oh, okay. So the first thing it says is, that's good. We need to deal with lunch. So let's handle lunch. This will be a new lunch type. And it will be a meal expense. Let me move this closer to the others so we can see how things go here. There we go. And I'm just going to paste things in, even though there's still cleanup to be done here. But I think that with this, we now have our change. Like we were able to drop this in. It's still a few places, but it's not awful. This comes in from the outside world. So essentially that's lunch has to be there. This is our factory method to take the outside interpretation of the domain idea of lunch and turn it into our internal representation, which is a printable expense, specifically a meal expense. And let's see what happens. I predict that we'll see, why is it red? This is a ghost error, I think, but let's see. Lunch has no initializers. I think that is a ghost error. That's app code being silly, but I could be wrong. Oh, it needs to be a struct. There we go. Okay, it's not a ghost error. Okay, app code has trained me the wrong way, because I'm so used to it having lingering errors. So there. Now, my prediction is that we will now have lunch. 2000 will be okay. 2001 will have an X by it, and the meal expenses will go up accordingly. But to like what, 4003? Let's do it. Let's see how this goes. So there we are. up by 4001 from 1200 to 1600. And there's lunch, and this looks good. This is what I want. I think this is great. So I'm going to approve this now so that the test will now pass. Ta-da! Let me do a manual commit. This is a new feature. Is it less than 8 lines? Yeah. So I mark it as a F. Like that. Ta-da! So at this point, and let me turn TCR back on. What we did, yeah, the change was easy. This is following, yeah, here's a ghost error. That's not true anymore. It's the cache is out. We are following the idea of what Kent Beck tweeted one day, probably just a whim, but his whimsical tweets are mind-blowing, which was to make a change, first make the change easy, then make the easy change. This was an easy change. Was the sum really correct? I believe so. One, 2, 12. Am I wrong? Oh, yeah. Here I'm like, I forgot about the car rental. So that looks okay to me. This is something that you could show to a business person, right? To say, look, here's what we got. Is this correct? So, in essence, we are done, but there's still fiddly bits that I think we can improve. So we improved this one thing, which was, and great question, Life for Tail. We already stripped out the representation, the textual representation, because that's not this enum's responsibility. The responsibility is down here with the meals. The other thing we can do, I don't know if it'll let me do this, was a whack on the head reminder last time that instead of implementing these straight from copying and pasting them, or by having the app code sort of fill in this sort of outline, because this is well, this is, here it is. We can just say, let's type name equals breakfast, right? And that should be okay. It is okay. And so it's asking me to commit. Yeah, let's just do this a bit. So that's one. Here's another. This just makes it easier to see. Dare I do this a few steps at a time? That's as far as I want to go. If I get it wrong, it'll revert. And I'm just going to keep going with this simplify thing. Here too. Simplify car rental. Is there anything else we can simplify here? The expense limits can now just be like that. So this is nice. It makes it easier to see, easier to read. Swift, I am discovering of late, has a lot of syntactic sugar. Like, I think folks are starting to go a little overboard. What's this? I'm not sure what that is, but let me run the tests right now. Okay. I think that was just from the past. More expense simplification. Right, so are these now all nicely set up where the only thing is the var amount? Everything else looks nicer. Okay. Can I do the same thing with the limit? Well, this is the limit here. But that's the only place it exists. Here, the meal expense. Oh, I already did it. Okay, sorry. Distracted, a little catching up. This is very fine sweeping at this point. However, there's still more we can do around here, which is that, make transaction. This isn't make transaction anymore. This is really making printable expenses, right? And is this called anywhere else, or is that it now? This is something we still want to bubble up. Look at, there's another. All right, let me rename this. Right, so that's a provable automated refactoring, lowercase r. And these aren't really transactions anymore, but I'm not going to worry about that yet because I still want to bubble this up. Here's the external point. Basically, the only point that's exposed is that it prints a report and it gets this array of expense. We should really convert these into printable expenses right at the start. So let's see if we can't do that. One at a time or both together, I'm not sure. We've got, it goes into write expenses and into write totals. How did I do this last time? I think I just changed this to a printable expense. Which doesn't really change any callers. Does turn this into just use expenses. And I think I wanted to copy that whole thing up, but first let me try to move one at a time here. Right, so I think that's now transactions. Let's see if this works. Trying to be mindless about it. So this is bubble up printable. And now we should be able to do the same thing for write expenses, that this becomes a printable expense. And we pass in the transactions. The funny old name. Use printable. That's good enough. Okay. Cleaning up, cleaning up. This is now useless. Let's see what happens if I inline it like that. That's looks good. It's a quiet day today. There are only a couple of folks here. I don't know, something going on in Europe. Are people still passed out from your time change? April 1st? Is that something special? Clue me in. Let's see here. Expenses. Here's another one I can inline. Not a method, the var. Okay, that is looking better. These are now, this really isn't transactions. These are printable expenses. That's a rename. Now, part of it might be that I failed to, I don't know, tweet this out, but there are lots of folks who should have gotten the notification as far as like, I don't know. Whatever. It's fine. It's sort of a quiet day. We'll just have a good time, our little party. And now there was a thought somebody shared last time, which was if we have a printable expense, which is, let me just go to it. Where's the print on it? Like, shouldn't it do print? Shouldn't it handle something? It feels a little funny, possibly, to take each expense and say, hey, write the expenses, when maybe that should be its job. That we have the responsibilities still not quite where they belong. So, but I suppose the print, where this might change, well, let's see, because printable expenses is an array of printable expense. And let's see if, yeah, I'm not sure, but let's give it a try and see. Or let's see what happens, because write expense line for expense. There. That one we should be able to move. Although it is okay, what I like about the idea of moving this is that it moves the responsibility. What I don't like about it is, Mudshark, what you just said. It depends on how we want to print it, and I feel like if the output format, if there's a change in that I don't want to be chasing that around too much. Right now, it's pretty clear that everything is in here. Oh, here's something we could clean up. Here in calculate meal expenses, we did this nice filter, map, and reduce, which looks an awful lot like this, right? should be able to take this and map it and reduce it a little more cleanly. So let's try that. So if I say, I'm just going to copy and paste. Okay, that worked. So this is map to simplify reduce, or something like that. That is cleaner. The other thought is, do we need a separate class? I don't think so, because this is the report class. So it's in charge of the reporting. Everything seems to be in here. Oh, here's something. This was our initial hack, our legacy code trick of saying replace print with our own print in test code by doing an extract, basically by doing an override. That's still smelly to me, because it's great when you're dealing with legacy code. Extract and override helps you move forward, but it's still a smell. There is nothing. I mean, this would, if you just came in and looked at this, there's no indication that this is testable. And somebody might be like, what the heck is this doing out here? It's sort of confusing. It's like we need a printer object that will do the printing. That might be something we do. Offhand, though, this is looking really, really clean. Yeah, let's try I think everything else is looking pretty clean. This is still the stinkiest part. That this is a workaround, and it doesn't reflect the design of the code. So let's look at how it's done here. Yeah, something like that. We can pass in a printer function or over, replace its own printer with our own printer, something like that. How do we do this in a clean move? This will be interesting. Well, I think how to proceed is to begin to define a new printer interface. Let's do it. I'm going to stick it right here. And by interface, I mean protocol. Where this will take something like, well, something like that. Where'd it go? Let's see if it's happy with that. That might be a good idea. I kind of like that mud shark. The yeah, yeah. So if we have a real printer, if we have a test printer, la, 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 or a console printer, here. Oh, why can't I use print directly? Because if it writes to the console, how does the test capture it? And apparently in Java, there's a way to say, redirect console output into something else so that the test can access it, but not so in Swift. So in the test, we provide this, which takes the print and just appends this each line, and then it checks the lines. It joins them like this. Oh, this is starting to feel like something. Like this should be the responsibility of the printer or something like that. Hmm? Okay. Hope that explains. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna implement. I wonder if I can do this here. No. Let's make. Let me make a console printer. And I'm going to do this weird trick. No, I'll just make it a struct. And let's implement that where this will be this. And this is not going to be tested. So I want to get a printer in here somehow. All right, let me commit this first. And now we want essentially, yeah, moving in baby steps. Let's create a hello, Swiggy, welcome. And a few more folks have joined. Hey, glad to have you. It's always fun if you say hello, even if you're just lurking. Sadly, AppCode does not have, well, I should say, it doesn't have it for Swift. It has pull members up for Objective-C, but not for Swift. Add the printer to the test subclass and pull it up. Yeah, I'm gonna ban that. Well, proceeding as we are, let's call this a test printer. What's wrong? Hello? um, AppCode, did you lose your brain? Here, I'm just gonna sheet. Like, yeah, app code lost its brain there. Should it be a struct? I tend to like classes for testing purposes, but I wonder if that's why it's freaking out. No, because it definitely compiled and ran the tests and committed. I think this is a bug. This is an app code bug. For now, let me do this. Right? So we have testable expense report and test printer are almost identical. Oops. Try again. Now I should be able to inject it somehow. Trying to move in parallel. If I make a testable, I don't want a testable, but I'm just going to keep working in the testable one. This is sort of what I want. Hello, Hyperman. Good to see you. Let's see if we can't do this. That's not where I want it, but let's... Not liking this. I wish I want to do a pull. I want to pull this up. I'm going to pull it up by hand. And this is my sheet here. So hopefully this will make a real console printer, but the tests will say, nah, thanks. I'm going to make my own. Let's see if this is happy. That seems to be. Property is not the best way to proceed, but it'll do. And now, can I take the, instead of taking the expense report lines, I should be able to take the, I need to extract this and make this a test printer. Like that. And I should be able to take the test printer lines. Nope. That did not work at all. And that's because the print is not going to both. Okay. Surprisingly, it did not revert the tests. That's because I have tests not reverting. Let me get rid of this. If it's going to revert, let's live on the dangerous side here. There. All right, so let's try again. The parallel change aspect of this is that we've got all these calls to print like this, but print is only going to one thing, and it should go to the printer. Yeah, like that. When this happens, I think this will still pass. because the test code is actually not using this yet. So this is, this is a little more risky because it's dealing with the real printing, and I don't have a test for that. So I'm going to mark this as an unsafe, like, alert, alert. That's a potential risk there. But now I should be able to go back and say, let me pull this into variable and commit it so I don't lose it. And now can I say test printer lines joined? Nope. What? Why? Ah, because we're still overriding it. Okay. Okay, let me try again. Try again. Here we go. Take the test printer, capture the lines from it, but don't override it anymore. Aha! There we are. This is a test only change, so it is collect lines from the test printer. Right. Now, this is now useless. We can thank the testable expense report and get rid of it. So now we should be able to deal with the real expense report. Let's try. So nothing about this. We can get rid of this now. Yeah, this is feeling good. Bye-bye, testable expense report. This is a big step. It's a good step because what we have is we've defined an interface. Now, it's still using this property injection. And maybe we can do better by switching to constructor injection because that makes the dependencies explicit. This is still sort of hidden in here, and anything can come along and substitute it. Well, it's not bad for anything to come along and substitute its own printer. But having it in the initializer using constructor injection makes it more visible that, this depends on that. So let us try to do that. And unfortunately, there is no shortcut to do this. So let's try this. Let's see if I can't make an explicit initializer. That takes this with a default argument. When you have it as a prop, you can hot swap the printer though. Ooh. Oh, that's kind of a cool idea. That is kind of a cool idea. I kind of want to roll with that. Let me roll back. Reset the current branch hard to here. Xcode can generate it. I think that is maybe one of the few places, and there are a few, where Xcode does a better job. Yep. Yep. Hot swapping the printer though. That's what a cool idea. Say, oh, rock. Yeah, yeah. If I had to use Xcode, it's just, it would feel so slow. Except for this. Except for generating the initializer. One more thing. And that is that the test printer, this is awkward. The test printer should do this for us. In fact, the printer maybe should do this. Let's move it into the test printer for now. So I'm going to copy this to do this. I think the easiest way is to stick it in the test printer as a new function. I'm not sure what to call it. Get lines is not a great printer full report or output. Not sure. And this should take the lines and join them. And here's app code. This is why I don't want to use Xcode. Is I can say, it returns this, so let's make it change the return type. Can I use a custom getter? I kind of want to just hide it. Like that. So now I should be able to say the test printer output, which now looks a little less interesting there, but there. This is move new lines into test printer. And that's nice because it cleaned up the test. This is now not a helpful, so this is not a helpful variable anymore. So I'm going to inline this. Right? This is now verifying the test printer output. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. And you know, should the printer know about this? Maybe, maybe not. Probably it would be nice. Maybe I should move it, even though a test is the only place that's calling it right now. I'm a little hesitant to until there's some sort of demand from, but this is all play anyway, right? There is no actual printing of actual expenses going on. So, I guess I can't. I can't move it because the real printer, here, I'll show you. The console printer just prints each line right away and it's not hanging on to them. So not until there's some sort of need for like a file printer. which is an interesting thing to be able to say, hey, this expense report shouldn't go to the console. It should go, like, write it to a file, and it would know how to take everything, open a file, write it. That's a pretty cool thing. But I am feeling pretty good about this. I like it. Let me do one more trick for you. This is not something that I've done much in app code, but it was one of their new features recently before they sunsetted the whole thing. Let's have a look. Let's clean this up a bit. Actually, I'm just going to leave the whole thing there. Huh? How do you like that? Breakfast. Okay, some of these are extensions, protocol extensions, and I think if we get rid of that, it will be cleaner. Let's see if I can do that. Ah, yeah, nice. Oh, wait. Can I just hide them? I don't know if I can. Yeah, I haven't found a practical use for this yet. But I can see how it could be handy to quickly explain, what are all the different pieces we have here. Can I? Whoa. Not sure what's going on here. Oh, I see. There it's adding the methods themselves. Anyway. Let me just clean this up a bit and get rid of the extensions. So here we are. Yeah, that is true. I think there's even some sort of analysis built in. Again, this is not something I've explored very much, but I think it can detect circular dependencies for you, as well as, of course, you seeing it yourself. And this is something that I used to like doing with Objective-C, to see not the types, but the file dependencies, what's importing what. And that really helped me to find the circular dependencies and highlight them. But there we are. We started from two things, expense type and expense, and a single large function, long method inside of expense report. So these three are the originals. And this is the domain that sort of appeared, that we discovered by moving gradually, letting the design evolve. And I think it's much clearer now as far as, like, what if we need to change, if we need to add a new expense type, we already did that, super easy. What if we need to change something about how the reporting is done? That is now easily done in the expense report, pretty easily. Now, there might be some things that we need to change, but we don't know what they are. Like if we have tabbing or so forth, we have an idea of the different expense types, of course. Meal expense, that's probably okay, but maybe it's not, because its property is like, isn't about the meal, it's about whether the expense is over the limit. But right now, it's still a good hint when we added lunch that this should be a meal. And we discovered the need for a printer. and that we have a console printer. So I'm going to declare victory on this. Yay! I think this is this is pretty nice. You can try this exercise yourself, and you can try it in a number of languages. I think of all the code katas, this probably has the most languages, because the guy who who uh, designed this kata is kind of a collector, a language collector. It seems to be a hobby of his. He's coaching with me at Industrial Logic. Composition over inheritance is a good rule. I think we can apply it here, right? Well, it is a good rule, but that doesn't mean inheritance is not the way to go. So that's an interesting question, though. And for those who haven't heard that, that is one of the basic things about design patterns in the Gang of Four original design patterns book. The report also totals meals separately. Might be accidental that only meal expenses have a limit, but we don't know yet. Yeah, exactly. Is it a meal expense, or is it a limited expense? And because what if they decide to add a limit to car rentals? Well, then this would move down and we'd rename meal expense, I think, is how it would go. And that's an example of let me just close with a thought on technical debt. People throw that term around so loosely these days, and it's very frustrating because they use it as an excuse for putting up with bad code. And putting up with bad code was never the idea, never ever the idea. Instead, the idea was that the design of the code should always reflect our current understanding of the problem. And that when that gets out of whack, when there's a divergence, then that's the debt then we need to overcome. And that's what we did here. So very cool, very cool. This was a fun kata. Hope you enjoyed it. I think that this will probably, I'm just going to say this will be my last live coding stream for a while. I'm gonna want my Saturdays back for a bit, and then I'll be traveling, and like a chance to reset my life. I also just started to get an inkling for book number 2. Like my wife has been saying for, well, almost right away, she's like, and what about the next book? And I'm like, no, I never want to write another book again. Never again, until a week ago when I'm like, oh, shoot, this could be a book. So I'm going to explore some other ideas. So how to stay in touch? When will I live code next? I do want to do the another legacy coding exercise that is very iOS specific. So far, all of this is generic Swift, but I'd like to get into a view controller, a legacy view controller that has no tests, and tackle it. So I think that'll be down the road, but I'd rather not start it and then put it on pause so I can travel. I'd rather do it together. So that will be next. If you follow me on Twitch, you'll get a notification when I go live. Yeah, the book kind of came out longer than I planned. But surprisingly, I thought by now it would have aged out with all the changes Apple's made. And it's true that it doesn't cover some things, but for the things that it does cover, I still refer to the book. Like I pull it out going, how do I do this again? So, uh, so I'll be back. If you watch, I'll announce on Mastodon. Follow me on Mastodon. The list is long. Oh, a long list of books. I see. Yeah. Sorry, Mudshark. Um, Follow me on Mastodon. I'll try to. I messed up this time, but I'll try to remember to announce. And I do announce on Twitter as well. Um, and I'll try to give some warning about when I will be coding next. And of course, Twitch followers will get the notification. And if you are watching this on YouTube after the fact, thank you. Appreciate it. And if you've watched this far, give it a like and subscribe, and you'll get at least then. Even if you miss my first one, you'll get a notification as soon as I post the recording, which I do after the 24-hour requirement that Twitch owns this for now. All right. Thank you very much. We shall meet again someday, and I'll let you know. Okay? That's it. Take care. Thank you for joining.